You did
Okay,
not get that,
welcome.
did you? Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Nope, we're good.
All right, welcome to. So here's a question. Episode 13.
Good job.
Lucky 13.
Last time you said 12, we had to redo the whole thing.
But we don't do any retakes, so this is all live. Okay.
This is not the third time we've tried this. So we're at Ogden Botanical Gardens. The proposal rock is back there. I did not get proposed to tonight.
I let her down. That's what leads to this subject of this.
Please let me down. Happy Father's Day.
Okay, good. All right.
No. So in my marital dynamics class this week, my assignment, I know,
Dynamics.
like there's going to be some dynamics happening. My assignment is to teach somebody.
Okay.
So we thought the 6 viewers, the 6 subscribers to our channel, go subscribe to our channel. And my husband, well, you and I already, we talked about it during dinner today. It's quite an interesting topic.
I get it twice. What a bonus.
Probably didn't get it the first time, so we're going to listen the second time. So
What was that?
the book exactly is Gottman, the 7
Gotcha.
principles to making marriage work, or something like that.
Okay.
My options for what to teach people were wide and varied. Based off of our conversation at dinner, I decided that we would decide to teach a little thing called positive sentiment override, and negative sentiment override. So Gottman claims within the first like a few minutes of meeting somebody, a couple, he can determine if their marriage is going to last or not.
Well, we're at 2 minutes.
This one is not looking good.
We'll have to show the video.
After
Okay.
27 years, we're finally. And one of the ways he can tell, keep sidetracking me.
I do, sorry.
Is that if they if he's talking to them and they're having problems and he asks them to argue anyway. If he does, he literally takes them to the love lab and asks them to have an argument that's one of like their recycled, unsolved, unmanaged arguments, and then he watches how they argue. And if he has like this list of things that if they do this in their arguing, then they will probably get divorced. And he has like a 96% success prediction rate, not success and marriage rate, but prediction rate. So one of the things he talks about is when he asks a couple who's struggling to tell him about how they met, or something related to like when they were first dating. He says he'll see 2 different types of answers. He'll see a couple that'll like melt and giggle and laugh, and then they'll start to hold hands if they were like fighting before, and they'll remember, oh, that dress you were wearing. I have to suck in if you're going to do that, and I have to sit up taller. And they'll start to remember, and as they're remembering things from when they were first started dating, or maybe their wedding was cute or whatever, and then he's found that ability to think back to positive moments in their past will help them see the negative aspects in their present with more positivity. So there's a negative side that obviously is just the opposite. If it says that couples that can't think of anything positive from when they were dating or from their past probably takes a negative spin on all of their communications, or they start to look for negative things. Like if the husband comes home late from work, instead of asking like why they're late, they just jump right on the, oh, you're late again. And then as they look back, they also, both positive and the positive sentiment override. They'll look back at maybe challenges they had in their past, and they're able to put a positive spin on it and say, we went through X, Y, Z, but it made our marriage stronger, and now we're here. And couples that have negative sentiment override will look back at maybe positive moments in their marriage, and it'll have a negative spin. So it gave the example of like a couple and their wedding day, and the groom could only remember that his bride was flirting with his groomsman, and that she could only remember that he was late and got drunk. And so even looking back at their wedding day, they could only think of the negative. So that couple experienced negative sentiment override. So he's found that people that can't see things with positivity in their past likely won't be able to see things in their present time with positivity, and so they'll be less likely to succeed in their marriage.
So in other words, we all have positive and negative parts of all of our experiences, yeah, but we will remember certain aspects of it and put a spin on whether it's positive or negative. And most of that is probably due to what you feel about that person now might bias your which of those you remember.
Right. I would say maybe a number of negative experiences in your current or relatively new history. Had enough negative things happen that you haven't been able to resolve, you would start to gain a negative sentiment override. And it talks about different ways to help resolve conflict. So
just turn like this.
Why is that?
Because then we can both get our heads in there. I'm sitting here trying to balance it. My arm's not laying enough.
I know, we forgot our selfie stick. We brought our microphone.
For the 13th time in a row.
Wait, this is number 13. But yeah, if couples have more positive interactions and they've solved conflict, because avoiding conflict is not possible in a marriage.
I think it's interesting. I was just thinking about there's a book that I liked a long time ago, showing up in her classes, and I like to rub in that I liked it first. So
I still don't like it. I haven't been asked to read it yet.
Okay. Anyway, they talk about heuristics, right? And heuristics are like biases that we have in our mentality. One of them is called the halo effect. And the halo effect is if you see somebody in the positive light, if you see them with like a halo, then almost anything they do is going to have positive and negatives, but you're only going to focus on the positive, and so you're going to see the good things that they have. They don't talk about this, but I think it's the same way. If you see somebody in negative light, no matter what they do, you're going to only see their negative sides. And so we think of things, oh, that person does this and that person does that. But really, in general, everybody does negative and positive things to us, some more than others, but how we see that person in the past or in the present, kind of the same thing, right? It will affect what our perception of their actions are. And I think that kind of changes within a marriage. You're talking about, hey, how you reflect the past is kind of an indicator of how you feel about that person now. But I think it also can change over time. And then I think that's kind of matches with what you're saying. Is this halo effect is not just a one-time thing. If I'm frustrated with you, almost everything you do, I'm going to see the negative side of that. If I'm not frustrated with you and we're having, we're having a good time and it's a good relationship, almost everything you do, I'm going to see the positive side of it. And so we have this bias. We think that, oh, this person frustrated me today. Well, they frustrate you today, or did you just see the frustration because of your perception of them that day? And so I think it's the halo effect in this, what'd you call it? The
positive sentiment override.
Okay.
I had to think about the letters.
Yes, the positive and negative sentiment override is kind of the same thing as is the halo effect in this. It's a behavioral science book, so it's kind of a similar concept.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, sometimes you meet somebody and the first time you meet them, you automatically put the halo.
Yeah.
Like, I can think of a few people that the first time I met them, I was like, wow, they're so cool, or they're so together, or they're so kind, or so now every interaction is that they're just so great. Like, I don't know if I should mention names.
No.
Positive.
Oh, okay.
Like the first time I met cute little Jill Grover.
Okay.
She just sparkled and bubbled, and I just thought, wow, what a neat lady. And I'm sure she has some flaws, but I haven't seen any yet. She's just the sweetest lady. And then I feel the same with Sister Merritt, Sharon Merritt.
I thought you were going to say me, but I guess not.
And also, that's what I meant. Sharon Merritt sounds an awful lot like Thomas Rust. But the first time I met Sister Merritt, she was just so kind and so accepting. And so now every time, I've never seen a negative. I've never heard her say a negative thing. I've never. So maybe it's the halo effect, or maybe they're just both amazing all the time.
Well, I think it's a combination of things, right? The halo effect makes a big difference when you see everybody's got positive and negative, but some people may have more of a halo effect on people than others because they have more positivity around them. So it's, it's hard to decipher which is which, but I think it's going to be connected. So yeah, I think that's true.
We won't mention the.
Let's don't mention the negative ones.
Then there's so and so that I met, and whoa boy, no, there's nobody like that. I'm probably that person.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely
My kids called me salty today. But they said I slay.
Yes, yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
And Riz.
So there you go. So here's a question. Mm-hmm. See, I know this is your question, but how do you overcome that? How do you overcome the negative? What is it called?
Negative sentiment override.
Sentiment override. The negative sentiment override, or the negative halo effect. How do you, if you see that with your spouse, with other people, or something like that, if you recognize that you have that, how do you overcome it?
So I've loved this semester. It's been awesome. The school hard as heck. I've learned so much, but it's so hard this semester.
The workload is.
But it has been so hard. One thing that they've told us with we had to do a mood log one time. And if you say, here's this thing, this sad thing, or this hard thing, or this whatever, and I thought this, like my husband was home late from work, what a jerk, he doesn't care about me. You can call yourself out. Like if I know Thomas is home late from work a lot sometimes. He's not a jerk. He's not intentionally, he's not out at work being like, ooh, I don't have to go home today. So
you don't know that, but so let's assume. I appreciate the assumption.
I've seen the people that you work with. All of you want to get home to your wives.
Yeah, we all want to go, yeah.
So I think it's absolutely okay to call yourself out. They say that these some of these negative emotions are your mind lying to yourself, and that's sometimes what anxiety is. It's your mind lying to yourself. So to stop yourself and say that's an over-exaggeration, or that's an overgeneralization, or there's so many different levels that you call yourself out and say, stop, that's a lie. Here's what I actually believe about this situation. And then the one has to completely be believable. You can't say, if you actually think you're out partying, I can't say, no, he's not out partying, because my brain's like, he probably is.
I am probably out partying at work. It's so much fun.
With all of his math friends. Sorry, anybody who likes math.
Hey, math is awesome.
Thomas is looking for new friends. But
my wife loves math. She just doesn't like to admit it.
I'm a closet math.
Yes.
Yeah, you can you totally have to believe it. I completely believe on days you're late home from work, you don't want to be at work any later than I want you to be at work. And so if I start feeling like, oh, he's late again, this is so frustrating. He doesn't care about our time, or I can stop myself. And I have to know that, of course, that's not you. I have to know you well enough to know that's not who you are. And then I can call myself out on that and say, that's not true, and reverse that thinking.
I think you called me on that once. We were having a discussion.
Conversation.
Not that we ever have those at all. But you're like, why would you assume that the worst, of all the ways you can interpret that, why would you assume the worst? And that's kind of come to my mind a lot of, okay, do I, there's 25 different ways or 50 ways I can interpret what you said, what you did, the thing that it is. Why am I assuming the worst? And so calling yourself out like that too, and And so maybe it's not even just, calling yourself out to the bias, but also saying, am I assuming the worst based on, for some reason. So,
Yeah. What are some possible other explanations for this scenario? Or like, what are some possible other ways that she may have meant this?
yeah.
I try not to respond in ways that are mean and, the four horsemen, what were the contemptful or critical? I try not to be. As a matter of fact, when I was reading that section, I just thought, grateful I am that we don't have those four horsemen don't usually show up in our marriage.
For the four horsemen, we'll have to talk about that some other time.
If you want to know more about the four horsemen, get this book or ask me because I've read it now.
6 times.
Ding! This is not sponsored by John Gottman. I've taken a test on it. And, no, I haven't yet. It's the end of the course. But yeah, so
I think is an example. It's an example I've used before, but I can't remember where I heard it from. They said, whenever I get cut off in traffic, I just want to be mad at them. The thought that I have is, man, that person must be like, his wife must be sick at the hospital, and so he's got to be getting to the hospital. And so I think of that, And I think that's the same kind of thing. We need to call ourselves out, be aware that we're doing it, and then go and say, okay, what's an alternate perspective that I can give to this?
Yeah.
All right, this is a little longer one.
We should change this podcast. We should change this, whatever this is, to the engineer and the soon-to-be therapist therapy show. One of the therapists I work with actually was joking one day, and he said, bishops cannot be therapists. And he goes, and you know what our worst bishop therapists are? Engineers.
You never told me that before. Ouch.
But he meant
engineers are awesome. Can't make fun
he meant it in a great, loving way.
I don't think he did.
I just don't think they quite know.
Now I need to go and talk to him.
They just don't quite know this book.
They're not married to
future therapists. Amber Rust, FCSW, future clinical social worker.
All right. You got to pass your classes first. Hey, you just said I was a bad therapist because I was an engineer. I know. All right.
Straight A's right now.
Okay, good job. Proud of you. Okay. All right. I think that's probably enough. What do you think? 18 minutes is
18 minutes.
probably long enough.
It was a good topic.
It's a good topic. Hopefully,
good stuff. It'll save your marriages.
Hopefully, all 6 people that watch this will enjoy it. 3 of which is ourselves watching it over and over.
3 times.
Okay. Well, enjoy and read that book if you want, and we'll talk to you next week.